This is the Form 5 of the Engenius ELT test. Check that you have the correct form. Open your test booklet to page 1. On this test, you will hear different voices. You will hear these teachers.
I am a teacher, you will hear.
I am another teacher, you will hear.
You will also hear these students.
I am a student, you will hear.
I am another student, you will hear.
Now, turn the page. Part 1. Follow classroom directions. Questions 1 through 4. In this part of the test, you will look at a picture and hear a teacher give 3 different directions to students in a class. Choose the directions, A, B, or C, that the students in the picture have followed. Then, fill in the correct circle on your answer sheet. Let's do sample A together. Listen carefully. A.
Discuss in your group and write down the answer on the handout.
B.
Don't copy your friend's assignment, or points will be deducted.
C.
Do the quiz individually and submit the answer sheet to the teacher by 3 p.m.
Now, fill in a circle. If you chose A. Discuss in your group and write down the answer on the handout. You are correct. Get ready to do question numbers 1 to 4. Now, we will begin. Number 1. A.
Show your friends how to fill in those blanks.
B.
Pick the picture that you like most and show it to your friends.
C.
Draw pictures based on subject matter to maintain a similar theme.
Number 2. A.
Sit in every other seat.
B.
Take your seats and stay quiet.
C.
Take the seats without cross marks.
Number 3. A.
Blacken all of the numbers that you hear.
B.
Cross out the numbers that you've heard.
C.
Write a check mark in the designated boxes.
Number 4. A.
Stand in line and tell me your answers.
B.
Look at the words I'm writing on the board.
C.
Take turns writing what I'm saying to you on the board.
Now, turn the page. Part 2. Comprehend mathematical language, questions 5 through 8. In this part of the test, you will hear several math word problems. You will hear each word problem 2 times. After you hear each word problem, look at the 3 expressions and choose the one that matches the word problem you heard. Then, fill in the correct circle on your answer sheet. Let's do sample B together.
To convert temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit to Celsius, you have to subtract 32 from the degrees Fahrenheit and then multiply by 0.5, 5, 5, 6. For example, when you would like to convert 50 degrees Fahrenheit to degrees Celsius, you have to subtract 32 from 50 and multiply by 0.5, 5, 5, 6. Which expression should you use?
Listen again.
To convert temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit to Celsius, you have to subtract 32 from the degrees Fahrenheit and then multiply by 0.5, 5, 5, 6. For example, when you would like to convert 50 degrees Fahrenheit to degrees Celsius, you have to subtract 32 from 50 and multiply by 0.5, 5, 5, 6. Which expression should you use?
Now, fill in a circle. If you chose C, the third expression, you are correct. Get ready to do question numbers 5 to 8. Now, we will begin. Number 5.
Lance is 26 years old. Peter, his son, is 4 years old. To figure out how many years Lance will be double his son's age, you need to add Lance's age and the number of years. Add Peter's age and the number of years before multiplying this quantity by 2. Then, subtract the second quantity from the first quantity. Which expression should you use?
Listen again.
Lance is 26 years old. Peter, his son, is 4 years old. To figure out how many years Lance will be double his son's age, you need to add Lance's age and the number of years. Add Peter's age and the number of years before multiplying this quantity by 2. Then, subtract the second quantity from the first quantity. Which expression should you use?
Number 6.
Chris and John each had the same amount of money at first. Chris spent $38.20 on books and had $11.55 left. John spent $25.20 on clothes. To figure out how much money John has left, you need to add the amount of money that Chris spent and the amount that he had left. Then, subtract the amount of money that John spent from this quantity. Which expression should you use?
Listen again.
Chris and John each had the same amount of money at first. Chris spent $38.20 on books and had $11.55 left. John spent $25.20 on clothes. To figure out how much money John has left, you need to add the amount of money that Chris spent and the amount that he had left. Then, subtract the amount of money that John spent from this quantity. Which expression should you use?
Number 7.
The perimeter of a rectangle is 20 centimeters. To calculate the length of this rectangle, you need to divide 20 by 2. Then, subtract the width from this quantity. Which expression should you use?
Listen again.
The perimeter of a rectangle is 20 centimeters. To calculate the length of this rectangle, you need to divide 20 by 2. Then, subtract the width from this quantity. Which expression should you use?
Number 8.
20% of the number of people who attended a concert arrived late. 30 people arrived late, so to figure out the number of people who attended the concert, you need to divide 30 by 20 and multiply that answer by 100. Which expression should you use?
Listen again.
20% of the number of people who attended a concert arrived late. 30 people arrived late, so to figure out the number of people who attended the concert, you need to divide 30 by 20 and multiply that answer by 100. Which expression should you use?
Part 3. Understand classroom dialogue, questions 9 through 17. Directions. In this part of the test, you will hear conversations between a teacher and a student in a class. After you hear each conversation, you will answer some questions about what you heard. Fill in the correct circle on your answer sheet. Let's listen to the first conversation.
Do you know the bird in this picture?
It's a robin, isn't it?
You're right. To be precise, this is the American robin. What do you know about this bird?
It is a migratory bird. It is named after the European robin because of its reddish-orange breast.
What else can you tell about this bird?
It is a songbird. I mean, it is known for its singing.
It sings beautifully, but why does a robin sing? Have you ever heard it sing?
Yes. It sings beautifully, isn't it?
Certainly. Can you give some reasons for any bird to sing?
Basically, a bird sings to attract a female, to call a mate to a new food source, and to mark territory. As for robins, we can say that they are territorial birds, so they sing because they want to defend its territory.
That's right. It's a way of maintaining their space and family.
So when a bird enters a robin's nest, the robin will sing to say, "This is my territory. Don't enter."
Exactly. The territory can be a tree or a group of trees. And why do you think a robin protects its territory from other birds?
Maybe it wants to have a better chance of raising its family safely.
That's right. And it wants to have enough food and water for its family.
By the way, do birds also sing for pleasure?
That's a good question. Some scientists say that they do, and we'll talk about the reasons that birds sing without territorial or courtship concerns next week.
Now, let's do question numbers 9 through 11. Number 9. In what situation would a robin most likely begin to sing? A. When it is far from home. B. When it finds enough food. C. When it notices an unknown bird. Now fill in a circle. Number 10. What is the possible size of a robin's territory? A. Several trees. B. A whole forest. C. A few tree branches. Now fill in a circle. Number 11. Why does a robin protect its territory? A. To keep its family safe. B. To live completely alone. C. To have enough space for itself. Now fill in a circle. Now, let's listen to the second conversation.
I'm going to show you the most famous painting from a particular artist. Can you tell me who this artist is, and the name of this painting?
I've seen that painting before. I don't remember the name of the artist, but I think the painting is called Nighthawks at the Diner.
Actually, the real name of the painting is just Nighthawks, and the painter is Edward Hopper. What sort of reaction do you have when you see it?
It's kind of lonely, depressing, and bleak. It's so dark outside, and inside there are these bright lights, but they're harsh. It makes me feel sad.
I agree. A lot of Hopper's works show loneliness and isolation. Can you tell me why he liked to paint things like that?
He was a very realistic painter.
What do you mean by that?
He started off as an illustrator, a commercial artist. As you know, a commercial artist has to be able to paint and draw realistically. I think this makes him a realistic painter.
And I would like to add here that he didn't develop his characteristic style, his mature style, until he was in his 40s or maybe 50s. I'll show you another painting. This is one of his mature paintings, and this is the first one that really made him famous. Do you know this one?
I think it's called The House by the Railroad, right?
Yes. Like his other paintings, it looks impersonal and sad. Hopper always said he was just painting what he saw, and that he wasn't trying to show isolation or loneliness. But when you take a look at his paintings, you can tell that he wasn't being completely honest about this.
Some of these paintings remind me of those old black and white movies from the 30s and 40s.
I agree. That type of movie or that style of movie making is called film noir. It does have that same feel, doesn't it? And it's interesting that Hopper did have an influence on some movie makers of this style. On the other hand, his contemporaries weren't interested in realism.
But the photorealistic painters in the 60s and 70s were influenced by his works.
You're right.
Now, let's do question numbers 12 through 14. Number 12. What is the main topic of the conversation? A. Edward Hopper's early career. B. Edward Hopper's major works of art. C. Edward Hopper's influence on other painters. Now fill in a circle. Number 13. What was his first career? A. A comic artist. B. A realistic artist. C. A commercial artist. Now fill in a circle. Number 14. Why did the teacher compare Hopper's paintings with film noir? A. The style of film noir did not impress Hopper's contemporary artists. B. Hopper's paintings and film noir show loneliness and personal feelings. C. The movie makers of film noir were influenced by Hopper's style of paintings. Now fill in a circle. Now let's listen to the third conversation.
Today, I'm going to talk about vocabulary in the English for academic purposes classroom.
To me, as an international student, vocabulary is the most difficult part to master.
Many students like you would agree with your point. Knowing vocabulary is important, especially at the academic level. And you might wonder whether vocabulary can be taught or whether you can learn it through reading or listening.
I think international students need a lot more support than native speakers. While it is true that we can gain our vocabulary knowledge through extensive reading, we need to read a lot more than native speakers.
Research shows that intensive reading of shorter texts, let's say 300 to 500 words, along with a clear focus on vocabulary, is the most effective method.
So, vocabulary needs to be taught. But which words and how many words do we need to learn?
Let's start with the number of words in the English language. I think it is somewhere between 500,000 and over 1,000,000 words. Clearly, you cannot learn them all. So, I think 20,000 words is what a typical native speaker undergraduate student knows.
I agree that I cannot learn them all.
Don't worry. Research on word frequency reveals that 80% of words in an academic text can be found in the first 2,000 words on the General Service List.
What is the General Service List?
It's a list of the most frequently occurring words in the English language. And 75% of the words in an academic text are in the first 1,000 most frequent words on this list.
So, what kind of words are we talking about?
Function words like the, and, but, and content words like experience and develop. Function words are words necessary for grammar, while content words give information or meaning. And there's another list called the academic word list that covers roughly 10% of the words in an academic text.
Even though I have studied the words on both lists, there are some words that I still don't know. What should I do then?
There are words that we do not encounter often. They are called low-frequency vocabulary, and I will teach you strategies or techniques on how to guess meaning from context so that you can learn low-frequency vocabulary by yourself.
That would be very helpful. And guessing meaning from context means I can't use a dictionary to help me find the meaning of a low-frequency word that I don't know.
Exactly right. You have to guess the meanings of such low-frequency words by using the strategies that I'm going to teach you. Okay. Let's look at some examples of low-frequency vocabulary and how to guess their meanings from context.
Okay, let's start.
Now, let's do question numbers 15 through 17. Number 15. What is the main topic of this conversation? A. A list of technical vocabulary that students should know. B. The importance of academic vocabulary in the English language. C. The amount of vocabulary needed to know for reading newspapers. Now fill in a circle. Number 16. What can be inferred regarding the number of words in the English language? A. It is in the hundreds of thousands. B. The exact number is difficult to identify. C. It is much larger than that of most other languages. Now fill in a circle. Number 17. What is the best method for teaching low-frequency vocabulary? A. Extensive reading. B. A clear focus on vocabulary. C. Guessing meaning from context. Now fill in a circle. Part 4. Listen and respond to academic lectures, questions 18 through 24. Directions. In this part of the test, you will hear a teacher talking to a class. After you hear each talk, you will answer some questions about what you heard. Fill in the correct circle on your answer sheet. Let's listen to the first talk.
If someone tells you that once there was a bird as big as an elephant, would you believe this? Some of you may, but some may not. At first, I didn't, but some fossils found on the island of Madagascar, off the east coast of southern Africa, prove that elephant birds did live there. Although they were not as big as an elephant, they are called elephant birds because they were very big. Elephant birds were primitive members of a group of large flightless running birds called ratites, which includes ostriches, cassowaries, rheas, moas, and emus. Although their sizes are different, recent genetic research indicates that the kiwi is the elephant bird's closest relative. Like kiwis, elephant birds are thought to be primarily nocturnal, moving around and searching for food at night while resting during the day. I would like to make it clear here that there are many families of flightless birds. One of them is the ratites. And some of you may ask, what about penguins? Do they belong to this family? The answer is no. Scientists estimate that there were at least 4 separate species of elephant birds living on the island and believe that the environment of the island supported the growth of the birds. These birds were herbivores. And, like other flightless birds, they had no natural predators. This means that even though they had wings, they didn't have to fly to escape predators, so they gradually lost the ability to fly. Without natural predators, I guess they lived quite peacefully there. Unfortunately, the number of these birds reduced rapidly when more and more explorers reached Madagascar, and some settled down there. They died out not only because of hunting pressure from humans but also because of climate change and habitat loss due to deforestation.
Now, let's do question numbers 18 through 21. Number 18. It can be said that A. All species of flightless birds have no wings or natural predators. B. The conditions of Madagascar favored the evolution of large birds. C. To avoid natural predators, elephant birds searched for food at night. Now fill in a circle. Number 19. According to the talk, which does not lead to the extinction of elephant birds? A. Hunting pressure. B. Clearing of forests. C. Vegetation change. Now fill in a circle. Number 20. Which belongs to the ratites? A. The coot. B. The rhea. C. The penguin. Now fill in a circle. Number 21. What is true about elephant birds? A. Due to their size, their closest relative is the kiwi. B. They were flightless birds that fed primarily on plants. C. There were only 4 species of them living on Madagascar. Now fill in a circle. Now, let's listen to the second talk.
Today, I would like to tell you a piece of news I have just read. 7-year-old twins were reported to have developed their own language. This might remind you of a secret language invented by you and your brother and sisters. So, at first, they were thought to be deaf because they didn't talk, so they were taught sign language. As you know, sign language is a system of communication using gestures, facial expression, and body language and is used primarily by the deaf and hard of hearing. I mean those who have difficulty hearing. Worse yet, they had been thought to be mentally impaired because when they were taught sign language, they did not seem to have any ability to communicate in either English or German, the second language spoken in their home. But, later, it became clear that when they were left alone, they could talk. Although they talked happily with each other, their language was a meaningless jumble of sounds to other people. Even their parents were unable to make any sense of it. Neurologists and speech therapists conducted several tests on them. Neurologists assessed brain disorders and speech therapists assessed communication problems and speech disorders. The test results showed that the twins were healthy and very intelligent, very high above average. Not surprisingly, many interesting questions about the origin and function of language and its heredity have been asked following this case. The speech therapists studying the case are carrying out further tests, but so far have been unable to come to any definite conclusion. Thus, some speech therapists think the children are suffering from a brain disease. The disease causes them to confuse the sounds they are trying to reproduce, while others believe that their language is in fact original, with its own grammatical forms and structures.
Number 22. According to the talk, the twins A. were born deaf and taught sign language at home. B. spoke English to each other and German to their parents. C. developed their own language to communicate with each other. Now fill in a circle. Number 23. Tests carried out on the two children showed that their intelligence was A. exceptionally high. B. slightly above normal. C. a little below normal. Now fill in a circle. Number 24. Some speech therapists thought that the form of language used by the twins was the result of A. the sign language they learned at school. B. confusion over the sounds they have heard. C. the mixture of the two languages they are using. Now fill in a circle. You have now completed the listening section. Now, we are ready to begin the reading test. Please stop the recording now.